This is a podcast about our lived experience, which unfortunately includes infant death and subsequent mental health struggles. Please take good care of yourself and only listen if this content feels safe for you right now. We'll still be here when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Judith.
And I'm Alina. We both lost babies to SIDS in winter 2021.
In the throes of grief, I reached out to a stranger on the internet and our friendship was born.
In the years since, we've been working hard to survive, rebuild, and navigate the continual challenges that have come our way, including divorce,
Job loss,
dating while bereaved,
moving multiple times,
health scares,
pregnancy and parenting a living child,
starting new jobs, and so much more.
We are tired.
Happily ever after is out of the question for us, but this podcast documents our journeys to happier ever after because we believe life after loss is worth living.
So join us as we laugh, cry until we laugh.
Welcome to As Long as I'm Living podcast.
We're so glad you're here.
Minutes, 5 minutes.
Okay.
Long enough that I was like, did I screw up and is she here and I'm in the wrong window?
I was in my work email and that wasn't in my personal email, so then I didn't see it, and then I was like, I feel like Alina would have sent it by now. It's a long time.
By the way, you know that the link is exactly the same every single time, right?
Yes, but my brain is broken. Okay.
So the listeners, every single time we go to record, Judith's like, okay, send me a link. And I go and I copy and paste the exact same link and I send it. And you know what? This is just how we work here at As Long as I'm Living podcast. Okay, let's do it.
Okay. So we recorded an episode 2 years ago about what was it called?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Called Wonder Woman. And the idea was that a lot of people will say, like, you're so brave, you're so strong. One person told me, you handle this with so much grace, which I still don't know what that means. And this idea that we are not Wonder Woman, we just have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been 2 years.
Well, the Wonder Woman-ness of it all was that your sister, I think, someone was talking about how they missed you, and you were like, who gives a shit about Judith? Like, I'm Wonder Woman. Like, who gives a shit about Judith? Like, I'm amazing. But we were saying, like, it feels good to think of ourselves as strong.
Yeah.
But not to be told we're strong by people who are not who are outside of this.
We're 3 years after loss, just about.
Yeah.
Do you feel you are still Wonder Woman? Do you feel you're so brave? Do you feel you're so strong? Do people still tell you you're so brave and you're so strong? And how does it feel when they say that now? No one tells me I'm brave and strong anymore because no one
has said that to me in forever.
No one says it because no one talks about it. I was out to dinner with a friend and I said to her, we're talking about, like, she was saying something about how some people talk about their kids and it's boring. And I said, what is it to talk about my children? And I said it just like that, my children. And like her eyes, like I saw, she like couldn't fully register what I was saying. And I was like, my children, who cares about my children? My children are like trying to process my words. She was like, children. But then she's not dumb enough to be like,
she's like calculating.
Yeah. I was like, anyway, okay, so we were saying, no one says you're so brave, you're so strong, because I think everybody is over it.
I think that the ways that my grief manifests now are exactly the same as they did in the beginning. It's just that I think there's less permission to be on the floor now. There's less permission to have to cancel plans. There's less permission to, I am giving myself less permission to do all these things.
You have not.
I have not been good this holiday season about taking care of myself, and I've been paying the price. I think in the early days of the loss, when people are like, wow, she just lost her child, they think, oh my God, you got out of bed? Amazing. I could never. And now it's like, oh my God, why are you in bed? Like, you just got to get out of bed. It's been 3 years, bitch. Like, get up. And I even say that to myself.
Oh my God, you nailed it. Yes.
Right? And I think it's so, yes. So no one tells me I'm brave or strong anymore at all. At all. And it's funny because in the beginning, I hated when people would say that. It was like, felt very distancing. And I was like, what do you mean I'm brave and strong? I'm on the floor. And now I want people to be like, I feel like I almost could use a little more credit these days for surviving and doing what I'm doing. That's how I feel.
Yeah, nobody says you're so brave or you're so strong.
And I want credit now. I feel like I almost now is the time that I want to hear it. So now I feel like I just get berated for not berated, but I get shit for not being a normal person. And I'm like, my son's still dead. It's still pretty cool that I'm living a functional life and I have a job. And, I got married and did all this stuff.
Hold on. What do you think are some things you did that were brave?
I think dating again was really brave. I think falling in love again was really brave. I think doing IVF was really brave. I think the way I handled my heart diagnosis was brave and strong, and I made it through. And what's interesting is all of those things that I'm talking about, I wouldn't say I handled them with grace per se, the way that woman said about you handling the loss. I wouldn't say I handled them with grace. However, I handled them. I faced them head on. And I actually think that that's true about every challenge I faced since the loss, including the loss itself and grieving and keeping him alive in my home and talking about him even though it's uncomfortable, and choosing to do the holidays this year was a big deal for me. I think that was brave and strong, and all of these things. I don't know that I handled them particularly gracefully, but I do think I handled them, and I think Quinn would be proud.
And with the idea of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, do you feel that resonates with you? The fact that you lived through Quinn dying gave you the ability to handle these things the way you did? Or do you feel like you would have handled them regardless?
No. I think in some ways, that's a hard question. Good question, Judith. I think in some ways I handled them worse because he had died.
Mm-hmm.
I think in some ways they were harder, and I had to be brave and strong in a way I would not have had to be brave and strong had he not died. However, I do feel like deep down in my core, there's an inner strength and a confidence that I can do hard things because I already know I've lived my worst day. My worst day is over. 100%. There's no question. My worst day is done. Even if I lose another child, if another child of mine dies, I can tell you it won't be as bad as the first time. Not because the loss will be any less bad, but because I went from a life that was good to a shattered shell of a life. And there will not be that big of a fall again. And I think that gives me a confidence that I can handle anything. I actually think the way I handled the heart diagnosis, I handled that better because of the loss. But other things I think I've handled worse. What do you think about yourself? How do you feel about that? Same question to you.
I think I think part of loss and part of hard things is there's level of discomfort that comes with it. It's very uncomfortable to be in pain like that. And I think it's it's scary to see yourself on the floor all day. And so I think there's the actual thing on the floor, and then the background, there's your head running over and over being like, am I okay? Am I normal? Am I ever going to get better again? Is this my entire life? Am I living on planet Mars forever? And that adds a level of difficulty to the situation.
Suffering.
And so I think what has given me strength, and I think the reason why I feel confident that I can get through anything right now is because I'm sure bad things will happen, but I know how to be uncomfortable in a way that doesn't scare me. I think I'm still doing part one of that, which is being on the floor every day, dealing with navigating family, but there's not this running soundtrack in the back that's saying, is this going to be forever? This is so uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm doing. The first time you jump off of a cliff, it's terrifying. You're like, am I going to die? The second time you say, okay, I'm going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I can't feel my face. It's uncomfortable, but I know I'm going to land somehow. Whether I'm dead or I'm alive, I will land. Okay. And I think that now when I have really bad and hard things happen to me, which I'm sure more will happen, and I don't have very much faith in the universe that only good will happen. But what I know is that I know how to jump off a cliff now. I know I'm able to identify in myself, like, okay, this is really uncomfortable because this is really hard. I still sometimes, like, when hard things happen, and I could give a million examples when I'm dealing with really, really hard things, I like have this, like, I want to die. I do not want to live. I feel like I'm being crushed between two pieces of cement. And then I also know, oh yeah, that's the feeling you feel when you're devastated. You must be devastated right now, Judith, as opposed to thinking, oh, I want to die right now. Am I suicidal? Like, oh my God, I'm suicidal. Oh my God, the world is over. Oh my God, I should just quit because I don't want to live anymore. It's like a different sensation.
Yes.
It's a different sensation. Yes. And I think there comes with like a lot of skills that come with being able to know how to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
To know how to be in pain.
And I think that is something that
that is strength.
That's something that I would want people to recognize. Every time that I spend 3 days in a hole and I'm dissociated and whatever, and then I get myself out of it through sheer self-care and processing my feelings and force of will and, like that is really, it's really brave to let yourself be on the floor and feel those feelings and not push them down and just pretend like they're not happening. Yeah. That's really brave. And it takes a lot of strength to get yourself out of that hole at the right time when you're ready. And that is something that I think, if you at home, if the listeners are doing that, like that is really brave and strong. Not that you went to the grocery store, not that you are still alive after your baby's dead, like those are the things that I'm really proud of you for.
But like, I think that it comes with, and I think what we're both saying here, which is probably what we said 3 years ago when we had this conversation.
We should have listened to that old episode because I don't know if we're just saying the same thing.
Yeah, maybe. Well, what we're saying is that there are things you have to do. Those are not brave. You have to get up and go to the store. You have to get up and eat. You have to go to go
to your job at some point eventually because you need money to buy food.
Maybe that is brave and strong. I don't want to belittle that. But what I think my real strength comes from is not that. It's like the work that I have done to learn how to be uncomfortable, to learn how to sit in pain, to learn how to pick myself back up. And I think when people look at me and say, you're so brave, you're so strong, they are not talking about that. No one says that anymore because everyone has moved on. But if somebody did say that, I think again, which is actually similar to what I think we were saying then, but when we said it 2 years ago, I don't think we knew what strength really looked like. I don't think so. I don't think I knew what it looked like to protect your grief, protect yourself. Like, okay, when I learned how to protect my grief, I learned how to protect myself. And now that I have those boundaries in place, I'm able to do that with all sorts of things. Yes. So if I'm in a relationship with a friend or a family member that is hurting me, I'm able to identify like, I need to protect myself here. I'm going to step away from that relationship. I'm going to put up boundaries. And I only learned that because I had to do that with my grief, Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that
I think a lot of the things we've learned in our grief are life skills that take people their entire lives to learn. And we had a crash course. We were on the floor and we had no choice but to learn these lessons. Well, that's not true. We did have a choice.
I've been able to watch my husband this past year from the outside, kind of go through the process. And in the beginning of the year, like a year ago, he was not resilient at all. I feel like I would say like he's someone at that point a year ago that I wouldn't say like has internalized these messages of, that we're talking about now. And over the year, I can look back and see in him a new strength, which is like resiliency, just confidence in myself, comfort in one's skin, knowing how to comfort yourself, knowing how to take care of yourself. And it's been absolute hell for him. And I wonder if the only way
it's been hell for everybody involved.
Like, I wonder if the only way to fast, like this way, I think he's been in the same loss that I have for the same amount of years, but he didn't experience that growth until this past year. So I think that there are people who have their loss and don't experience what we've experienced. I can imagine a world in which he went through the next 20 years without really facing it, without really like crumbling to the floor, starting from scratch, like being at the bottom. I think we did choose to be brave and we are choosing to be strong. And that comes with a lot of work. And just because you had a loss does not mean that you will be brave or you will be strong. It doesn't mean that. Some people have losses and they don't have these skills. And 2 years ago, my husband didn't. And now he did. But I don't think that everybody has them. So I think what makes us brave and what makes us strong is that we did the work, that we dove into it, that we were uncomfortable, that we were in pain, that we just like threw ourselves into this process and we lived and we continuously never gave up and we faced it. And I don't think that should be taken for granted. I don't think that's obvious. And maybe the reason why I get frustrated if someone were to say that I was so brave and so strong is because they don't see that choice. Like they don't realize that there's an alternative. You're not brave and strong for living after loss. You have no choice, which is what I've said now a million times. But I am brave at this point and I am strong because of what I've done with the loss. And I don't think a week out, it didn't even make any sense because a week out, I haven't had any of this experience. Now someone should say I am brave and strong because at this point I am, I'm ready to accept those compliments. I am ready. My door is open. You know where to find me. I would agree. And if someone said that to me now, I'd be like, yeah, I am.
Hell yeah, I'm brave and strong.
Like have like meetings with my boss or like I have meetings with people who are like way older than me, way more accomplished in their career. And I still think to myself, like I can see like this lack of emotional maturity.
Yes.
Like, I am so much braver and stronger than you. I get it. You made a lot more money. You're way more successful than I am. But like, man, you need to lose a child and go through some work.
Truly, if I'm thinking about my life, all of the things I've accomplished in my life, by far, the thing I am the most proud of is how I have handled this loss.
I agree.
I think also like if I think what is Quinn, like I want to make Quinn proud, right? Like if he's watching me somewhere, and I think he would be really proud of how I have both kept him alive and integrated him into my life, and also the way I was about to say moved on. I have not moved on, but the way that I have
moved forward, keeping him in the places that I can and living a full life. We said this in the very first episode of this podcast, like life is still worth living. We believe this. And I think all these steps we've taken toward a happier ever after, you can't have a happier ever after if you're not feeling the shit too. You can't. I don't think you can. Is this the end of our story? Did we just end our story?
No. No. We are not at happier ever after yet. No way.
Yeah. But I do think we just said something really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, really nice. It's so sweet, that self-love that we have. I do think I love myself more now. I do have a sense of confidence that I didn't have. If someone doesn't like me or someone doesn't want to be my friend or like, it's just like, I don't care. I know who I am and I love myself and I want to be around people who see the strength that I have. And if you're someone who's uncomfortable with my loss, if you're someone who I bring you down in some way, like that's okay. We could just see each other and wave on the street. Like that's not.
Yep.
I have a new sense. Yep. I used to want everyone to be my friend and I used to want everyone to like spending time with me. And I'm a different person now. And I realize that.
And I'm so happy to know you. And Judith, you are so brave and so strong.
Oh my God, Alina, you're so brave and so strong.
Listeners, you're so brave and strong.
You're so brave and so strong. We see you crying on the floor and we think you're really brave and strong.
Yes, that is super brave. And getting up off the floor is really strong. You've got this.
Did we just record the same episode we recorded?
Probably. I think we may have.
To all of our wonderful new friends, we want to hear from you. Email us at aslongasimlivingpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at aslongasimlivingpodcast. We'll get back to you as soon as our grieving brains allow. Yay!